Mom thought she was rid of her son.
He needed me to co-sign because he didn't have enough credit on his own to do it. It's nice having him gone.
It's just that his new roommate
It was said that I was shorting rent.
gave her new troubles.
Why in the world would they say that you were shorting rent unless you were shorting rent?
The blame had to go somewhere.
Judge Judy.
How old are you, Mr. Reynolds?
I'm 23.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a union iron worker for Local 86.
How long have you been doing that?
About 9 months.
You were a friend of Miss Pugh's son, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had no place to live, and you all wanted to live together. And nobody had enough credit in order to sign a lease on their own.
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
That'd be January
Of what year?
2018.
And how long was the lease?
It would have been 1 year.
When did you move out?
It would have been April was when I was evicted.
Why?
It was said that I was shorting rent and that I wasn't
Well, just a
paying.
second. Were you shorting rent?
I was not.
So you were paying your rent?
I was.
So here we have somebody who's been really nice to you, because I read your answer, that they treated me like a son. Why in the world would they say that you were shorting rent unless you were shorting rent?
The blame had to go somewhere.
What did you get arrested for?
I was arrested for driving while license suspended. I was driving Daniel because he'd been drinking.
You were driving with a suspended license.
I was unaware that it was suspended at the time. I didn't know until he told me.
So you were driving with a suspended license, and your license was suspended for what?
I wasn't clarified on why it was suspended.
That I don't believe, sir.
I had no prior knowledge that it was suspended when I got pulled over.
You subsequently found out why your license had been suspended. Why was your license suspended?
It was suspended to an old traffic fine.
What kind of traffic fine?
Failure of having insurance.
So you were driving with no insurance.
At the time, I had insurance.
At the time of what?
When I was pulled over with Daniel.
So you were driving without a license. This is what, if I'm to believe this, this is what I'm to believe. You were driving without a license because your license was suspended, and it had been suspended because you were driving without insurance.
Actually, in my defense, I was doing Debra's son a service because he had drinking 7 to 8 beers.
I just want to know who you are, sir, before I hear the plaintiff's case. Now I know who you are.
So you're judging me off of
Now I
negligent
know
actions.
exactly who you are. So, Miss Pugh, you made the unqualified, most ridiculous error in judgment that any human being can make, and that is to co-sign for a lease for a bunch of kids.
Yes, ma'am.
Who can't get a lease on their own. So, how far away from where you live was this apartment where your son this is your son, I assume. This
Yes,
is
ma'am.
the Daniel.
Yes, ma'am.
How far away from where you live was this apartment?
About 4 hours. I live in Eastern Washington. It was on the west side in Port Orchard.
And what was your son doing 4 hours away?
He was working for, I think it was Basin Tree, doing tree work.
And he couldn't get that work closer to you.
We actually moved from the west side. He went to high school with Ethan, and his thought was he'd move back over where his friends were. I think it was maybe he was doing roofing at that time, and then he went to doing tree work. He's had a series of jobs, which is why he needed me to co-sign, because he didn't have enough credit on his own to do it.
Let him live in a room.
It's nice having him gone.
You're probably foolish enough, and you'll get a couple of dogs now that you're free.
Yeah.
That's what I did. How many people were going to live in this apartment? The defendant, your son Daniel, who else?
A friend of mine who is Nathan, he's 52, and his mom, Verna, who's 78.
And you still had a co-sign for them?
Yes, because my friends, Nate and Verna, she lives on Social Security, and she only makes less than $800 a month, and he works odd jobs, so neither of them had the credit or the resources to do it.
Great. I'm not dealing with anything about the lease with you, because you have all kinds of claims against him for breaking the lease, because nobody was paying the rent. A lot of this was your foolishness. Your two friends, your son. So I'm entertaining the other monies that you advanced to him. One was for bail.
Yes, ma'am.
How much are you out for his bail?
My husband used his credit card for $1,245. 100 of that was he had not shown up for court again and had to have his claim, so he didn't have a warrant.
Did you get any of that back?
$1,000 when he showed up for his court hearing.
Did he ever pay you back the $245?
No, ma'am.